Goodnow, revolutionaries, and welcome to the Rise Up Morning Show.
Good morning, the Rise Up Morning Show.
Hi. Oh, wait, sorry, that was a bad stitch. Hi. There it is, perfect. Did you see the live action Lilo and Stitch?
No.
I don't get it. I do understand it, but I do wish that it didn't do so well so that we could finally send a large signal to the powers that be that they should just make new stories instead of just live action of the same crap. Because, I mean, the crap is good. It's great. These movies are fantastic, but then you just make you're just making a worse version of the old movie, which is still good because it was great. Now you've just made it good, and you've created a movie experience where, like, millennials can bring their kids in to go watch, but, like, can we just make new movies? I didn't mean to start the conversation off on this, but, like, here we are.
Well, here we are. It's just one of those things. It's just like nostalgia sells. It's like, oh, remake everything.
IP? Wait, this IP? Oh, okay, good. People like this IP? Sweet. Just spin it up again.
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 And again.
And again. And again.
Yeah, it's a little annoying. But, you know, c'est la vie. It's going to keep happening.
C'est la vie. Well, in the backstage, we were talking about a few things. We were talking about wanting to buy more Solana.
Yes.
I have Solana and have had for about a month now. Part of my daily buy. For those of you who don't know, I buy Bitcoin every single day just with coffee money. $10 goes in. And now a month ago, I added Solana to that because I'm just like, the Solana ETF's coming. So like, the price is going to be higher than no matter where it is at this current point in time, in my opinion. So just buy Solana. Buy Solana. And buy Solana and Bitcoin. And then as I make some trades, I'll take that money and I'm going to put it into Bitcoin and Solana.
Mm-hmm.
I kind of just want my portfolio to be like, I'm like tired of trading. I also have less time to do it than I did before because of the show and social media and my other job and just trying to live some life. And I'm like, fuck, I only have so much time for trading.
Mm-hmm.
And I kind of just like want to stop. Honestly, I kind of want to stop trading and just invest and just buy Bitcoin and Solana and then just go like, okay.
Come to the light, Will.
I'm tired. I'm so tired. Just buy this, set it, forget it, stake the Solana, move forward, and help other people do their trading if they want to do that. But that's kind of just where I'm at. I feel like a lot of people are just tired now.
Dude, I've been tired for years.
You've been tired for years.
Let's talk about investing specifically then, because we say all the time that a lot of this, the overwhelming majority of this is not investable.
No.
So the stuff that is, or is at least borderline, or like kind of heading in that direction is very appealing and tempting. And I would say, I made a video once, maybe 5 months ago, and it was just kind of about the different categories that I would put these things in. And in my personal blue chip category, it was essentially just Bitcoin and Ethereum, because it was like, these are things that, like, if I missed a cycle on, if I round tripped, I'd be like, okay, I'll keep it. But like anything else that I missed a cycle on, I'd be like, oh, good chance it's never coming back.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
And then I said that Solana was kind of heading in that direction for me. And I think closer now than it was then, just because of the user base, the revenue, the fact that they've managed to sustain that now even for the last how many months with relatively consistent numbers, which we could pull up here and I can show you what I'm talking about. But just really got into that direction, into that vicinity for me, where I'm like, you know what, I would start to consider this one. And now, especially with all of the ETF talk, I think a lot, we've even put it in the Hey There Normies, comedy
Hey There Normies
video, that a lot of that ETF talk is kind of
Hey There Normies
silly, because just anyone can file an ETF for anything. We've seen Pepe ETFs applications filed. Doesn't mean that anything is going to get approved, right? But in this case, the names that are applying for the Solana ETFs, like Invesco and Galaxy, entered that race today. Race, that lineup, I should say. I think though that for those, just like with ETH, which actually, Will, I was going to ask you about Ethereum because there's a trending headline here from a couple days ago just about ETH ETH ETF inflows. Geez, say that 10 times fast.
ETH ETF inflows, ETH ETF inflows, ETH ETF inflows, ETH ETF inflows, ETH. Ah, damn it. 4.
Got it. All right, there we go.
Shit.
So, what are you? Can we actually here? I can pull up.
I have the ETF inflows actually
Brilliant.
already up. Fun fact.
Okay, sweet. Throw it up. There we go.
Yeah, I mean, like they've been good. Nothing like absolutely spectacular, but nothing like mind blowing. However, the past 3 days, $100 million, 71 million, 60 million. Again, these aren't Bitcoin numbers, but you know, go back a week and a half ago and you had 125, 240. That's a real big day for the ETH ETF inflows. And for those of you who might not have the context, ETH ETF inflows for the longest time was like $12 million, $7 million, $13 million. Ooh, $21 million. Ooh, good day for Ethereum. And now that like median price point is starting to tick up. In fact, you can see right here that the average ETH purchase is, you know, only $17.9 million lifetime for Ethereum ETF inflows because they were so low. But you can see clearly here, without even having to do the math, that the average over the past really 2 months has been much larger than the previous. So the amount of people buying Ethereum is steadily increasing. And if you go to Bitcoin, which I don't have up right now, I mean, you know, Bitcoin has had $500 to $600 million of inflows over the past couple of days and has $1 billion inflow days, right? That's not a surprise.
Sure.
But the average for Ethereum purchasing is totally going up. So for me, going back to the original question or topic of Solana in the realm of investment, Ethereum is in the realm of investment for me. Solana made that jump probably like 6 months ago or so. It really kind of started to like be in my head where it's like, okay, I think Solana is in that category. And then I started thinking more about ETF hype and potential and like what types of people would buy an altcoin ETF. And I'm just like, I think they're going to buy more Solana eventually than Ethereum, just simply because they'll have higher interest on the staking, which, by the way, Rob asked, oh, wait, nope, sorry, wrong one. Here we go. That's also good, Rob. From Palmer, you know, where do you stake your Solana? I stake on Marinade because it gives me the best. And if you use the Rise Up Morning Show's referral code, it gives you the literal best APY you can earn on your Solana anywhere. But I also stake on Coinbase, which I know a lot of people kind of go, no, you shouldn't do that. But I'm like, if something goes wrong on the DeFi side or if something, you know, I don't want all of my Solana being staked on one place, just in case something were to go wrong. And, you know, I'm not getting the best APY on Coinbase, but, you know, it ain't nothing.
Yeah, I have Sol in 2 places. The bulk is sitting here being staked on Marinade. The bulk of the amount that I am comfortable keeping staked, I have 2 positions. There's a staking position that I kind of add a little bit to over time to grow. And then there is also the bag that I'm swing trading because that's the only cryptocurrency that I trade. And I use the word trade loosely here just to be that like, oh, what's it doing today? It's kind of down. I'll add a little bit. Oh, what's it doing today? Oh, it's up. I'll sell some. And that's as much as I do. There's no charts. There's no TA. I don't know how to do any of that. And then Jito, actually. I've been doing some experimenting because I don't know that much about all of the options, but there's a bunch of stuff you can do. There's a bunch of really cool stuff over there. And I just kind of wanted to learn more about how it worked. So doing some experimenting there as well. APY is a little bit lower if you were just going to stake there. So if I was just staking, I would be using Marinade. But if I wanted to kind of mess around in the DeFi pool a little bit more, I would look at Jito for sure.
Mm-hmm. And then other things that are in that category of like, oh, are they investments now?
Mm-hmm.
What are your thoughts on Chainlink? If for that, because for me, it almost got there and then it like really fell out of it. Not because Chainlink isn't being severely adopted or has, it's incredibly adopted across the entire crypto industry. It is absolutely critical infrastructure for the crypto industry. I just don't think its price point its price action has been that missing piece for me. That, and also there isn't like a Link ETF. And I think there never would be. I think it would possibly be included in a bucket of altcoin ETFs that I think would ultimately be destined to fail and then removed. But those are my thoughts. I don't know if you think it or what you think of that.
Yeah, that's a great question. That is a weird one because
It's a weird one.
Because as far as like reliability and adoption and consistency are all concerned, I would say by all accounts, yes. I don't know how I feel about the price over time.
Exactly.
Because it's really not in its best interest to get super expensive. I've never held it, but I've always been a fan just because of that kind of internal battle over what it's worth. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I don't
feels
think
like
I know enough to like really like hardcore debate it, but at the same time, I just haven't bought it.
For me, if you're going to be an investment, you have to have fundamental adoption, and you also have to have the price appreciation side of things. Link has the fundamental adoption unequivocally. You can't argue that in any way, shape, or form that it doesn't. It's phenomenal. There's very few things that have been adopted like it in the crypto space.
Oh my God. They have so much. Yeah.
But the price, the biggest thing against it is two things. Is one, it doesn't have the ETF hype. It doesn't have that hype. And it's missing that. And you really need that air quote institutional adoption hype to like really be able to leapfrog into that investment category right now. The other thing too is that despite having the Link army, despite having a ton of social media content creators make content on Link, like with XRP and like with other coins that are like, absolute total shit coins, people running with it, making content on them, Link hasn't had like a crazy run. It's missing something. It's missing that zhuzh that can make it go up in price. And despite having that advantage of having a lot of social mind share that has steadily been decreasing as the price has been a little bit less exciting, it hasn't shown the ability to really run. I mean, hell, you had Cardano run. And I feel like the Cardano folks were just as numerous as the Link army folks at one point in time. And yet Cardano was able to go on a crazy run. Algorand was able to go on a crazy run. Hedera was able to go on a little bit of a run. And yet Link not. And so I was just like, there's something in this equation that's missing. And I don't think it's something that I can invest in. I could trade. Sure, could trade. There'd be other better options to trade with more volatility. It's missing a Michael Saylor.
I have a reductive opinion about it. It's boring.
It is boring. It's not sexy.
It's boring in the sense that it just works really well. It does its thing, and everybody who needs that service uses it. And it's just sort of like a given. You know what I mean? Like AWS has unbelievable adoption. It's boring as hell. No one is out in the world just like talking it up all the time. It's just kind of one of those like quiet things in the background. Third web, unbelievable adoption, amount of usage, incredible use rates, boring, quietly in the background, just running everything. You know what I mean? That's kind of, and I don't.
It's also like Wormhole, another example, because Wormhole is still the biggest bridge, right? By volume.
I'd have to look by volume. Let's find that out.
I think Wormhole is still the biggest by volume, and yet, also again, it's a crypto project that isn't designed to have its crypto price really appreciate or anything. Like, they don't really benefit from that in any way, shape, or form, nor do they care. Wormhole bridges, and it does a great job at it. But like again, token price doesn't go up, so like, it's not an investment. Great solution. Chainlink, great solution. Is it an investment? I don't think so.
I would say, in answer to this question, could it be a sleeping giant. Totally.
Sure. Yeah. Totally. It could totally be a sleeping giant.
Mm-hmm.
But here's
mean,
the thing.
To be honest, I would kind of say it is. What we're speculating on right now is like, will it ever? Does it have the potential to wake up?
Yeah, and you can't stake Link, can you? No, there's no staking on Chainlink, right? No. So like, if you're going to look at this as an investment, you have the adoption side, yes, and again, the investment piece. We talked about a few things, but like, it's never going to have an ETF. It'll never have an ETF because there's going to be zero demand for it. People who are going to go, hey, I want exposure to the crypto industry. Cool, Bitcoin ETF. Okay, cool. How about these altcoins? Oh, these ones can earn you interest. And so if let's just say you have three options. You have the Ethereum with staking turned on, Solana with staking turned on, and then you have Chainlink. And the conversation is going to be really short. Be like, okay, these two earn me interest. That one doesn't. Cool. Dink, Chainlink gone. Let me take a look at this Ethereum and Solana one. And then they make a decision there. Maybe they go 60-40, 50-50, one versus the other, right? But the fact that you're not going to earn interest because you can't stake it just throws Chainlink immediately out the window of the conversation for interest from an ETF product. And so then you're just going to be like, okay, so like all of the attention in the entire crypto space is going to go elsewhere for potential investments. Again, we're not talking about trades. We're talking about investing. Could it not be staked in time?
Yes.
I mean, it could,
Actually, that's a proposal.
Okay.
And there is a methodology for staking it on Ethereum mainnet, I'm finding. But
okay.
I'm trying to pull up the details on it.
That probably wouldn't get enabled in an ETF, I would imagine.
No, probably not. I think, though, that you could start to experiment with different kinds of yield options, different kinds of like rev share models, think dividends, but paid out differently from different things inside of crypto for holding tokens. But that would be at this point called native yield and is probably frowned upon. Shouldn't be.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we have stocks that you can invest in that pay you a dividend. That's native yield.
Is there anything else that you would consider to be an investment in the crypto? Anything that's close? Because I know your answer. Your answer is going to be no. But is there anything else that's close? Bitcoin, Ethereum, Solana. I think Solana may be taking that number 2 place for better investment. Chainlink was almost there and kind of has fallen short for the reasons we've talked about. Anything else?
So it kind of depends what the parameters are that we're using to define this. So if I say things that like, I would say I'm not worried. So all the ingredients here would be, I don't think it's just going to arbitrarily go to zero. I don't think that it's going to disappear anytime soon. I think that there's like a chance that something could come back if, in the next cycle, if we get to the end of whatever this is, and we, go into a widely recognized multi-year long bear market as we are wont to do sometimes. Who else would I put in that list? I mean,
the only thing I can think of, and I hate to say this,
I was going to say the same thing, actually.
XRP?
Yeah, but here's the thing, because what you can't really say about it is the same kind of adoption stuff or use case stuff. Like, why would we say Ethereum? Because a ton of people use it. It's still the biggest like builder ecosystem. There's still the most stuff
by far
built on that network. You have this unbelievably vast landscape of layer 2s built there to help make it harder, better, faster, stronger. XRP can't say that.
Yeah, XRP is totally missing on the adoption side of things.
Yeah, it's exclusively a mindshare play. And what I would say that I don't see going anywhere is their obsession. Until the moment it does, to be very honest.
The reason why markets go up is because more people decide to buy than sell. And if you have a huge percentage of your holders who are just like, I'm just not selling until XRP hits $1,000, then the ability for you to have more buyers than sellers is higher, right? I can't think of another coin other than Bitcoin that has a community that is so large of people who are like, I'm not selling my XRP or my this crypto. It's Bitcoin number 1 and XRP number 2. You crazy mad lads. Absolute mad lads. But again, it doesn't meet the investment category for me because it has zero adoption. Well, not zero. It's like the tiniest little blip of adoption. And it has the investment side of things, right? Price movement, people not selling, all that kind of stuff, but it doesn't have the adoption side of things. But there's no other cryptocurrency I can think of that has, like, in those two categories, an A rating in one. And XRP has an A rating on price movement and things. It has like a D minus on adoption. You know, whereas, you know, Solana's like an A and an A, Ethereum's in A on adoption. I'd put it at a B plus for price wise, just because it's been kind of disappointing for like a year and a half. If you look at its Ethereum Bitcoin pairing, maybe it's a flat B. But then like every other crypto is like FFFFFFFFC.
Well, and I think too that it's important to differentiate the types of categories too. I pulled up a comparison chart created by Perplexity for this episode that kind of compares, like, because someone asked about Ondo earlier, and I would say just to Palmer here about Polygon, I would say no, as it stands. No. But I would say that they have a renewed vigor and a strong desire to be in that category, and that's one of the reasons they are working with us, because they would like to change that.
You think that Polygon cares about their price, their token being considered an investment?
Of course.
I feel like, and granted, you've spoken with Neo more than I have, but like over the years and stuff, but I would say that they just care about like fundamental adoption.
Yeah, but I think they're not going to tell you that what they also care about is the price of the token, but that's the case. I mean, I know for a fact that Stellar with XLM cares about the exact same thing, right? They're never going to talk about XLM because their primary mission, like Polygon's primary mission, is to drive adoption, drive users, grow, impact the areas of the industry that they care the most about: payments, rails, tokenization of real world assets, all this kind of stuff, right? Like, this is what we care about. But why do we drive? We drive to increase the value and increase the stake and increase the security of the network and all of these things. So I think absolutely, those are in that category of, like, they want to be there, and I think they're working on it deliberately. And I think there's the potential there. I think there's the potential for a handful. I think Avalanche could get it to that point as well. I think that right now Avalanche has really tied, hitched their wagon to the gaming horses, and gaming is in a bit of a rough spot, which is not necessarily indicative of Avalanche being in a rough spot, but that's the byproduct.
Yeah.
But by all accounts, killing it, at what they're doing. In the same category that, there are so many others though that have good usage, like in their small niche, which is exactly what you would expect with the level of publicity that they've been able to do. Because you got to remember that at this point, 99.9999% of these things are still siloed on Twitter, and most people don't even know they exist or are doing anything. That's why Polygon is working with us right now, because they got sick and tired of being siloed on Twitter and actually not even talking to anybody new to let anyone else know what they're doing. And right now you've got Avalanche, who's in the same position but still siloed, hardcore. And there's a bunch in that category that we don't even know if they could get to investment level adoption, because they've never advertised. And no one knows that they exist, and no one knows what they're doing. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
But the question came up earlier about Ondo as it compares to Solana. I would say that Ondo is in one of those that has the potential. I would say it's way too young for me to consider it wouldn't round trip kind of a crypto. And Will, I'm curious to hear what you think about this, but the type of adoption there is completely different though, right? Because they're not trying to get millions of retail users using it every single day, because that's not what it's for. So if we were to compare current user rates with Solana and Ondo to try to track user adoption ecosystem growth, Ondo has 250 enterprise clients and $1 billion processed, which I can pull some links up here to show you guys in a second, versus Solana, 3,200 active monthly developers, which I would like to fact check, and then 9 billion TVL, which I think is accurate right now.
Like the adoption of Ondo is great, but it's just always going to fall into that. Not always, but for right now, it's going to fall into that category of it's too young.
Yeah.
To be like, okay, can stand the test of time, and there's not going to be some competitor that's going to absolutely just knock the knees out from underneath it. So for me, it's just like you need enough time to show trust. That okay, you've earned my trust. I can look at you not as a tradable asset, but as something to potentially invest in. That's like Solana's been around for a while. Solana survived the FTX crash, which was like the biggest like sign that, hey, this thing's like kind of here to stay. Ethereum's been around for a long time. Bitcoin, obviously the longest. Like you need a factor of trust. You need to see something survive some tough times and some competition in order to be like, cool, okay, this thing has actual legs. And then I saw the question too, from Eddie, like, hey, like, what about Sui? Sui, again, too young. It's speculatively in that running of maybe this could be an investment one day because it has been a competitor to Solana that has been able to run and get some traction and have some price action flow. So from those two things we look to grade, fundamental adoption and also how does it perform price-wise, it's doing well. It just needs to keep doing that over time.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a very good distinction to make. That this is not to say that there's no one else doing what they're doing well.
Yeah.
It is, however, to say that a lot of those have not done it long enough to be considered reliable in our, what I would call more conservative mindset of all of this kind of stuff. Like, Sui has grown quite well. They have billions with plural TVL, but they have 2 and change versus Solana, which is about to cross 10, which is still paling in comparison to ETH.
To Ethereum.
Which is like 80.
But we were talking about how, just last night, that not all TVL is the same. And like some of it is just like old money trapped in old contracts, and Ethereum's been around longer than any other platform cryptocurrency. It was also the first, so you had money flow there first. Like some people lost that money. Some people, that money is just locked there. Some people, people die and money gets trapped on chain. And so like, you have a certain amount of that also. So like, it's tough to really tell, but still at the same day, or at the end of the day, this is the measurement that we have. And also you can see like new flows. And also I just made a video not too long ago about there's more money bridging from Solana to Ethereum than from Ethereum to Solana. And it's Ethereum mainnet at that. Even Solana to Base is better. Solana to Arbitrum is better than, vice versa. So from a bridging standpoint, Ethereum is actually taking money from Solana right now, which is interesting.
Yeah, and what I'm curious to see how it tracks and shapes up to is that I would also look at revenue. I know it's weird that I'm basically the only person that I see consistently talking about how much we need to consider revenue when we talk about like investability of any of these things.
Ooh, there's one other person, and it's Danielle, Crypto Crush over on. She's big on Instagram. She was on TikTok. She's big on Instagram, and she's like, I love Solana because like the revenue there is awesome. And she is the only other person I see talk about revenue. If you guys don't know Crypto Crush over on Instagram, you can find her on YouTube too. She was on TikTok, but something weird happened to her TikTok. I used to like, when she started, I was like, chatting with her and sharing her stuff because her stuff's great. She's big on Instagram, so go check her stuff out.
Yeah, but just to keep the comparison running revenue wise, I'll use Ondo because they actually do have some revenue that they can report. Their annualized revenue is about $40 million. Solana made $370 million in revenue in Q1 alone.
Yeah.
So they're already they're more than $1 billion company at this point. Which,
Solana, do you want to hire me? Screw sponsoring the show, just hire me.
Hire me.
Hire me.
There's a lot more that can contribute to that though, right?
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of stuff built on that, and everything built on the on the network contributes to it. So you have NFT sales, you have token transfers, you have transaction fees, you have mint fees, all this kind of stuff, app revenue. There's a ton of individual projects on top of Sol making money as well, which bolsters that underlying layer, makes it need to be better and more secure to accommodate all of that kind of stuff. You can pull that up too if you compare like annualized revenue for an ecosystem. So I'll throw it on the screen here. This is also on the Llama. Check this out. So you can see here, there's several different categories of revenue. So here's ETH. So chain revenue at 1.98 million. This is in 24 hours. App revenue, 1.6 million. So these are separate. Those are separate, right? So one is what is Ethereum as a network making, and then what's the sum total of their apps in ecosystem making. And if you were to then compare that over here on Solana, chain revenue, 24 hours again, almost 2.5 million. App revenue, 5.5. I had a great question the other day too from someone who we were kind of dissecting a lot of this and asking, okay, like, well, isn't that all pump.fun? I don't know, but we could find out right here. So as you look at all these top protocols, and you can do this for any of the ecosystems too. This is exactly what I would be doing if I was trying to analyze like whether or not an ecosystem was starting to get real use and real adoption. Is I would go to the Llama, pull up that ecosystem, and then check out their protocols and see like what on the chain is making the money. So if we came down here, so just for comparison, you can run this exact analysis on anything. We'll use Solana as an example, and then we could take a peek at ETH, or we could look at Polygon or any of those top protocols, right? So Camino, hardcore #1. Will, I was going to point this out to you. Look at all this red, and look at that. 50% TVL increase over the last month on Camino.
Okay.
Which is kind of nuts.
Especially because it's already pretty freaking big.
Yeah, $3.79 billion TVL.
Yeah, but they gave me a really bad airdrop, so screw them.
Rude.
I didn't like their airdrop amount, especially because it happened right after Jito, and I was like, I'm rich.
Well, yeah, that one spoiled a lot of us.
That one spoiled a lot of us, yeah.
So here we've got cumulative revenue, 24-hour revenue. You can kind of see like where all of this is coming from. Jupiter is cruising in the revenue department. Marinade, Radium, Sanctum, killing it in the revenue. So a lot of it comes from there. As far as TVL is concerned, so here's Pump.Fun, by the way.
Where is Pump.Fun? Okay, at 19th.
Well, don't forget that this is sorted by TVL, and Pump.Fun is not something that I would not.
We're talking about revenue.
Yeah, I would not judge them by.
Well, click on Pump.Fun. What was the revenue there? Did we already go over that?
Yeah, right here. Look at that.
351 million, but you
cumulative revenue, $700 million.
Mm-hmm.
But still $1 million a day. Still doing $1 million a day.
What about Orca? Because Orca has high volume.
Mm-hmm. Not as much revenue as you would
think. 32, 1.2. Yeah, I mean, but Jupiter's still making $400,000 a day. Radium, $200,000 a day. So I mean, like, Pump.Fun,
but
is making about
a fifth.
Yeah, about a fifth.
What's interesting though is that like, yes, it's a lot, but it's only 20%. And so
you were thinking it would be way higher against the narrative of like, oh, the only revenue on Solana is Pump.Fun. Be like, no, I mean, 20%. That's a lot for one protocol, but
that's a lot. Still leaves 80% from other stuff that has very little to do with it. So it's interesting. But I would do this for all of them. Anything you're interested in, I would run that same kind of comparison. So in that sense, I think that's pretty much it in terms of like, what I would call an investment. Then I would say though that there are speculations I'm comfy taking, but would heavily profit take on.
Yeah.
And there's a handful of those.
That to me would be that to me would be the SWE.
Mhm.
Yeah, highly speculative. Maybe it could get there one day. You're not entirely sure, and you can't be until time passes. So make sure you're taking your profits, guys.
100%.
Mm-hmm. What about the Rise Up basket? Yes, you can invest in us. In fact, if you go to our GoFundMe,
And if it wasn't so illegal.
it wasn't so illegal. What are you talking about? I'm just asking for money.
Yeah, just some random guys. Just managing an investment fund. No licensing. Who needs it? It's all just guidelines anyway.
Technically, you don't need it for crypto right now.
Wild.
Technically,
To do what?
to manage money.
Oh,
You could like to. Oh well, you said to like create a basket. So yeah, that'd be
yeah.
illegal. That would be very illegal.
Yep.
But crime's legal right now. Woo!
yeah, it is crime season.
Yeah, it's
apparently.
crime season.
Still,
We could make a real good meme coin. What the?
It was someone was talking about Ty yesterday and like his wallet trading habits and how much money he's made from grifting the paid shills and never disclosing anything. And I'm just like, man, really did ourselves dirty by not being criminals. Whoops.
Yeah. I would like
Next
to make.
time.
I would like to make $50,000 a video. That would
to
be
do
nice.
nothing for anybody except make yourself rich.
Hey,
Crazy. So, Will, let's take Roberto's comment here. Alt season,
yeah, funny.
kind of a I don't know how would you describe it at this point.
I would describe it with the chart I was charting earlier this morning.
I would describe it.
Yeah, I mean, like they're, in my personal opinion, like alt seasons will never exist. You will have altcoin rallies, but you'll never
for some
have
stuff though, like not
altcoin.
necessarily all of them, like 10, 20, 30% days.
Yeah. So we're looking at Bitcoin dominance here, and this is on the monthly time frame. So this is going all the way back to the first real big altcoin season in 2017. And
Woof.
if you are looking at altcoin seasons, right? Like this was an altcoin season. This, oh wait, I gotta make this smaller. Yeah. This was an altcoin season, right? And now we have the impact of the Bitcoin ETF. Here is your ETF right here. Boom, 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 just straight to the upside because liquidity can't leave Bitcoin. It can't leave it, not as easily. Most of the liquidity going into Bitcoin now are going through the ETF products more so than people just buying spot. So this is the trend that we're in. But there is a little bit of excitement maybe because, if I clear out, and these green lines are the Bitcoin halving, by the way, just FYI.
Okay.
So if I clear this, and we're looking just at this, now we're in this upwards channel, and we have a major line of resistance on Bitcoin dominance's chart that we're getting really close to that, if we were to go up to next month would be 67.8%. And then maybe we can see a correction because in the world of the ETFs, you get a little rally, right? You get a decent sized rally, but that's all you get. And the ETF does have the ability to, make it so that this could even break above this line of resistance and have Bitcoin dominance shoot upwards. The only thing that's going to change that is if the Ethereum ETF has staking turned on and that money starts driving up like crazy and it drives greed in Wall Street to dive into Ethereum. Same with Solana, right? You need some altcoin options here. But even then, you're just going to be in a scenario where you just have a few altcoins that are doing really. You just have a few altcoins that are having an altcoin season. In this case, would be Ethereum, Solana, and coins within their ecosystems specifically. Because even then, it's not going to be like it was in 2017 because the money in the ETFs of Solana and Ethereum aren't going to be able to leave as easily. You're just going to have people who are on chain whose bags are now worth more, and as they make moves, can move the market more. But again, it's going to be short-lived because the liquidity that really made the market jump upwards for an altcoin season are trapped in the ETFs. And they're not going to get on chain. They're not going to flow into the altcoins. You're just going to have the big bags on chain worth more to make things bounce upwards for a short period of time.
Yeah, I concur.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad we could have such a good debate, Alex.
I wish that I could disagree with you, to be honest.
Yeah.
But it's one of those things, you know, like we've now seen significant evidence to support that. It's you know, that's not conjecture. That's just an observation at this point.
Yeah.
So it's
Which
kind
is
of
like
hard to debate it.
Again, it's hard to invest in an altcoin ecosystem that doesn't have an ETF tied to it.
Yeah, and I mean too, like we were just saying, I think the burden of proof of viability and longevity is shifting to the point where more people expect more from these things that have been able to get by on fluffy nonsense announcements for a long time. They haven't had to do anything. It's been okay in the past for altcoins to be able to kind of skate by with like hopes and dreams and nonsense.
Yeah, those days are
thankfully
toast. Well, not entirely.
Not entirely, but I think that's much more situational and much more short-lived. I mean, now we think about like look at the you could actually use memes as an example here as a different way of kind of tracking the way that people have shifted their mindset around this kind of stuff. You know, at the years ago, a meme would launch. There wouldn't be that many. And it would like keep steam for a hot minute. Now it's like a 20-minute lifespan. It's going to pump, and then it's going to crater, and it's never coming back. And it's going to do that 15,000 times a day with different tokens, you know. So I think if you pull that kind of mindset out into the rest of the altcoin market, getting a flash of the pan from any kind of hypey, fluffy, nonsensey type of announcement, sure, maybe. But it's not going to build. It's not going to build a foundation for you.
Mm-hmm. Well, another question here from Lorenzo. What does on-chain mean to you? To me, it just means leaving the exchanges and going and using a DeFi protocol, or, I mean, hell, lightly getting on-chain. In the investment sense, I would even mean just like not buying one of the main coins and buying altcoins within that chain's ecosystem. But that's not really getting on-chain. That's just getting into the altcoins, right? That's the flow of liquidity away from ETFs and into, you know, an ecosystem. But getting on-chain means getting a hot wallet, or getting even, I would say even just getting a cold wallet and storing on a cold wallet, because officially you are on chain, or going and playing with DeFi, using a decentralized exchange, using a lending protocol, playing a Web3 game, you know, anything that involves the use of a wallet. I would say, congratulations, you are on chain. Staking, you're on chain. Unless, of course, you're doing staking through an exchange, in which case you are not on chain.
Yeah, so to me, on-chain literally just means putting a mark of your action on a blockchain, literally. If I consider like something to be on-chain, it means that there's a record of the thing that I'm wondering if it is or isn't on-chain, on a chain. And I don't mean to be reductive in the answer to say like it is what you said it is. But if I was buying Bitcoin on Coinbase, I would not consider that on-chain activity.
No.
However, if I was taking that Bitcoin that I bought from Coinbase and sending it to my wallet, my cold storage wallet, I would consider that increasing my on-chain presence as a Bitcoin holder. If I was playing around on, I don't know, on Base, on Polygon, on ETH, on Solana, minting something, that's all on-chain activity. Anything that meaningfully contributes a piece of data to a blockchain, I would call on-chain. And then for storage, it's just holding it in your own wallet versus an exchange. So, Eddie, to answer your question, this is totally user preference. It's completely up to you. If where it's going to end up is in your cold storage, it doesn't matter. And I would say pick the one with the best fees, to be very honest with you. I'm not familiar with tangems like trading and swapping or purchasing options. So if they have good fees and it's easy that way, then knock yourself out. But like, for example, River, what Evan's go to, super cheap, if not free, to buy Bitcoin there. Like the reoccurring monthly buys. Buy it there, send it out. You know what I mean? I would say at that point, it really doesn't matter. If it's going to end up in your wallet, it doesn't matter where you get it. As long as you have the ability to transfer it. Make sure, obviously not every exchange is created equal. Although I think most at this point will allow you to transfer. Although PayPal claims to allow you to transfer, and it really doesn't. So there's that.
Also, Keith, saw your note. We are not broadcasting on TikTok. We have some technical sound issues. And so we'll be back broadcasting live on TikTok on Monday when Evan is back and all is right with the world.
Correct.
Yeah, it's the TikTok thing. I'm not sure exactly what happened, but essentially everything works over here. It just won't send the sound to my phone to send it to TikTok. So TikTok just doesn't get to hear everything that's happening from the board, which doesn't make any sense. But I've done all I can. It's beyond my skill to heal. So it's been a minute since we've had a conversation like this on the show, Will, like specifically about the investing and stuff. But I think it's worth bringing up again every now and then, just because so what all are you holding?
Yes.
We started to kind of get into like what would you consider the speculation? What would you consider, and you mentioned SWI. There's a handful that I would put in that camp for sure.
And that's speculative, maybe one day investment?
Like things that I think have the potential to be an investment. That are making what I would call honest efforts to get there and are making progress.
Maybe Ondo one day. Maybe SWI one day.
Mm-hmm.
Like maybe Aerodrome, maybe, but like the inflation
making revenue,
need a lot revenue, but its inflation is so high. Although that'll taper off eventually, but
could fix that.
Yeah, they could fix that because like the revenue's there certainly. It's like maybe Aerodrome. I just have a hard time picking any project that's like not a platform crypto.
Mm-hmm.
Even then, I look at Ondo and I'm like, That's why I feel a little bit more confident about SWI in that category. Otherwise, you are betting on finding the gold nugget as opposed to selling the shovels and the picks in the metaphor of using the historical example of the California gold rush. And the shovels and the picks, what make you rich? The gold, you got lucky. And so the platform cryptocurrencies are the things that sell the shovels and the picks for developers to build all this other stuff that then people try to go find gold on. That's not the investment strategy.
I'm with you there.
I can't think of a single other platform cryptocurrency that has garnered as much attention from a adoption and a price appreciation standpoint that's new than SWI.
Well, I would say that I think, and I'm a little biased because of their interest in us as a methodology to help with this, but one of the reasons that I had reached out to Polygon originally was because I thought that they could, if they put the effort in the right place.
I mean, they certainly have the adoption there. Like, my God.
Mm-hmm. And they're working on the attention.
Yeah. So we'll see. I mean, they have the adoption there. You just need the price to do better to be in that investment category. And, I mean, you've a number of different layer 2s. Like Arbitrum, adoption, amazing. Price appreciation, horrible. But you have a lot of projects out there that are getting a ton of adoption, but they don't have that price appreciation thing to actually make it an investment. Yet, they can change that. We'll see.
Yeah, I think...
Yeah, Keith is also right. Like, Jupe is very undervalued at the moment, too. Jupiter makes a ton of money.
Yep.
So does Radium.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, those are also riskier just because they are individual businesses on top of the ecosystem, like we were saying too. So
Yeah.
the risk is much higher.
They help to make, in this case, Jupiter exactly is a additional proof of data point that makes Solana a better investment.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
But if they fail, it's not necessarily going to like bring Solana down with it. Someone else would fill the gap left by them.
And then
in
again,
ecosystem.
that goes back to the original point we were talking about, that if you're looking for an investment in the crypto space, you need to be able to trust that it can survive some hard times and trust that it can survive competition.
Yep.
Do you have that much trust that Jupiter can't be unseated by some new competition?
No.
Also, we haven't seen it yet. You know, we haven't seen competition go after it. We've seen competition, and we're seeing it actively go after Solana.
The longer,
and it's doing pretty damn well.
The longer that those protocols exist and keep that spot, the more likely it is that they can resist the competition, though.
Yeah, exactly.
So that's what you're waiting for. It's not to say that they're not killing it, because they are. It's to say that they haven't been killing it long enough to have the same kind of longevity that I would attach to the ecosystem underneath it.
Also, Jupiter's marketing, I love it so much. The cat, it's so good.
They're good. Yep.
It's so good. Speaking of marketing, Ink, Kraken, can you do something? Do something.
I was going to look and see what
How do people still not know about you? I didn't know about you until I saw your booth, and Alex was like, dude, did you see this? Kraken made their own version of Base. And I was like, wait, what?
Different too, because I mean...
Is that new? No, it's been around for a tiny bit.
Yeah, it's been a minute. They have a token too.
Yeah. They have a token?
So, yeah, Ink.
See, I haven't even looked into this because they are so far back in my brain that only every now and again when talking to you does it come back to the surface.
I want them to talk.
Also, a little bearish that they made a token.
Yeah, made or making. Let me see.
Kraken, don't make a token.
Too late.
Ugh. Blow up your token. Burn all of the supply except for one. And then lock it away in some cold storage or something.
Okay, and yeah, not yet, but they're going to.
Oh no. They've cursed themselves.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but the branding is so good.
It is. I need to start heading off actually for work stuff, sadly.
Lame.
I know.
Okay. Let's transition into some final thoughts. Will, take it away. What kind of little nuggets do you have for us today?
Only things that I'll say is if you're looking at charts, make sure you're also looking at not just the spot chart, but the futures charts. And also something that I started doing more recently in the past month and a half, which I should have been doing for a long time, was also looking at the Bitcoin liquidity heat map. Because Bitcoin liquidity heat map, do it at CoinGlass. If you're used to using TradingView, you can get the HTF indicator to do it, but it's not that accurate. Go to CoinGlass. CoinGlass is the most accurate for Bitcoin liquidity heat maps. What it shows you is it shows you where liquidations would be the most profitable for market makers. So where is the financial incentive for centralized exchanges and whales to drive the market for them to make the most amount of money? Financial incentives tend to help you understand where price direction can move. Futures charts can provide you gaps on Bitcoin's chart, Ethereum's chart, Solana's chart, which also have a well over 90% accuracy rate for predicting future price action in the future too. So make sure you're looking at both of those and add those two pieces in for your decisions to actively sell, actively buy. Yeah, just make sure you're looking at get as much data as you need and as you can.
Well said. Yeah, I would say that nothing that we said today is meant to come across as like we are the absolute authority and absolutely right. This is kind of how we look at it. Will and I happen to be very similar. Same with Evan. Just in that sense, I mean conservative when it comes to our predictions for these things. I've seen enough large-scale ecosystems and protocols and projects fail spectacularly in very short amounts of time to where the amount of, as Evan would say, proof in the pudding that I need to see before I would call something more comfortable for me is just significantly higher. And I think that I don't hear the conversation had enough wherein we talk about how we get financially involved with crypto. If you're buying an altcoin that is less than a year old, that doesn't have revenue, that isn't championing a specific product or service, it's not to say that it's not a worthwhile risk for you. What I mean by that is that your risk tolerance might be different. Your budget might be different. The amount that you might be able to comfortably invest and not be too upset about losing is different. The best way that I've heard it described is, do not ever look at these things and think to yourself, how much could I make? Think to yourself, how much am I comfortable losing?
Mm-hmm.
And for me, I'm just not comfortable really losing much of anything at this point. And so I've built a portfolio based on what I'm comfy keeping there for a long time, because I've seen it work well over years. And Solana really got to that point for me. Why do I say that as the altcoin? Because of the FTX thing. Because by all accounts, everybody thought, I don't care what anyone tells you, people thought it was dead. That it was over and done with and dead and buried. And it was death rattling.
Oh, I do have more to add on. We had a lot of economic data come out 10 minutes ago. And none of it is good, but also you can spin it to being good because rate cuts are probably on the way. Unless, of course, this inflation keeps them away. So the big bits of data that we got were PCE prices, as well as consumer spending, and also GDP. So Q1 GDP, it was going to be at negative 0.2%. It came in negative 0.5%. So the U.S. economy shrank in the first quarter by 0.5 percentage point. Not great for the economy, but potentially a good sign for rate cuts. We also had initial jobless claims for the week were actually an improvement, so that's good. Core PCE prices, they increased by 3.5%. It was expected they'd be at 3.4%. Previous quarter, it was at 2.6%. So it's a pretty damn large increase in prices. And what else do we have here? Yeah, that was core PC prices. Yeah, so things are a little bit more expensive. Economy shrinking. Yeah, those are the big things to pull away.
Gotcha.
Let me see.
Okay. In response to the not financial advice comment, to be very honest with you, I would say pretty confidently that needing to see proof and building a strategy that is reflective of your personal risk tolerance and that fits with your budget, I would say that is unequivocally financial advice.
Wait, I was wrong. PCE, non-inflation, has to do with consumer spending. So let me just recorrect that. So consumer spending. Oh, wait. Consumer spending did better. So consumer spending was still healthy. The economy shrank. And sorry for the misinformation there, everybody. Jobless claims are fine. Okay, there you go. That's the economic data.
So what all goes into the specific, is there anything in consumer spending that's not tracked or not considered as spend?
I don't know the answer to that.
Because the thing that I've always wondered about that is that, like, is consumer spending healthy because of how many things that we don't have a choice about buying are more expensive and we have to buy, like food, clothing?
Well, I mean, if you were in hard times, like food would be the last thing to take a hit, but you would still see a reduction in spending.
Gotcha.
That would be like if times got real bad. Like you cut out luxury items first. Those are the first things that get cut.
Sure. I just mean, like, with what's being spent, since food has increased in price by so much, is it compensating for a drop in spend in those other things, which would indicate like a downtrend? But because
I'm sure there is. I just don't know the answer.
Gotcha.
Yeah, that's it. That's all I got.
All right. I appreciate it. Thanks, guys, for hanging out with us this week, for bearing with us with a slightly unconventional week. We should be completely back to normal on Monday. and we'll get a great report from Evan about permissionless. Thank you again to Aptos for sponsoring Evan's trip and bringing him out there. And I'm excited to hear some of the conversations that he's having with their team, I think, throughout the rest of the week. He's there till Saturday. And so I expect to get some more information. I'm excited to learn more about Shelby, which, if you missed it, check out the episode from yesterday morning, which is episode 330, where Greg Nazario, head engineer over at Aptos, came on to describe to us kind of what they're working on, what their big permissionless announcement was. And then, of course, this show is and remains powered by Polygon. And for that, we are very appreciative, because it's allowed us to start to make the show better and to bring you more interesting kinds of content from behind the scenes inside of the industry, what people are working on, what the actual humans that work here every day are doing. If there is anything that you would like to see, anyone that we haven't had on the show that you would love to see us host, please feel free to reach out and let me know. Leave me a comment, leave me a message in Discord. If I have the potential to make it happen, I will. And if I don't, I'll figure out how. Because where there's a will, there's a way. And there's a will right there. So, there we go. Thanks again. We will see you guys same time, same place, Monday morning. And until then, everybody, rise up.